This video is about matrix multiplication. Now, unlike my videos on scalar multiplication and matrix addition, matrix multiplication does not work the way that you would like it to. It's a really unusual operation when you first learn it. Now, it does make absolutely perfect sense in hindsight. So after you all go to university and get your math degrees, matrix multiplication makes perfect sense. But it seems unusual at the beginning, so keep that in mind. In fact, even looking at this example might seem awkward because we have a 1 by 3 matrix and we're going to multiply that by a 3 by 1. So the rule for matrix multiplication is from the beginning different than the rule for matrix addition, where the matrices had to be exactly the same size. So let's get started. Now, the rule for matrix multiplication is that these two numbers have to be the same. If these two numbers are not the same, then you're not even allowed to multiply the matrices together. So you look at these two numbers to know whether or not you can multiply the two matrices together. So the number of columns in the first matrix has to be equal to the number of rows in the second matrix. And then what you look at next is the outside pair of numbers. And these two numbers will tell you how big the product matrix is going to be. And that's why I decided to start with this example. Since the numbers on the outside are 1 by 1, it means when we multiply this row matrix times this column matrix, we're going to get a 1 by 1 matrix, which is just a single number. So that's a little bit unusual. If you want a challenge, pause the video and see if your intuition can figure out a way to multiply this row matrix by this column matrix that makes some sense. So do it in a few ways, come up with a few answers, and see if you're able to come up with what happens to be the correct way to do this. Anyway, so here's how you do it. You start at the beginning of your row matrix, so that's on the left, and you're going to work your way left to right. And in the column matrix, you're going to start at the top, and you're going to work your way top to bottom. So what you do is you start with the first element, 4, and the first element, -5. You multiply those two things together. So we're going to multiply 4 times -5. And then you're going to move to the next element. So we're going to move to the -2, and we're going to move down to the 0. We're going to multiply these together, and we're going to add this to our prior number. So we're going to add -2 times 0. And then, you guessed it, we're going to move to the third element. Move to the third element. So again, we're working left to right. We're working top to bottom. So I multiply 3 times 2, and I add this to my total. So there's a lot of arithmetic here. We have -20 plus 0 plus 6, and that's -14. And that is the number that goes in our 1 by 1 matrix. Now in reality, what you really want to do is, as long as the numbers aren't too big, you really want to work with those in your head, if at all possible. So if you're going to multiply these two matrices, you'd say, well, 4 times -5 is -20, -20 plus 0, -20 plus 6 is -14. But anyway, that's how you multiply a row matrix by a column matrix. Seems unusual, but it's just a bunch of multiplication and addition. Now, let's do a real example. So here we have a 3 by 2 matrix multiplied by a 2 by 2 matrix. So since the two inside numbers are the same, we are allowed to multiply these together, and the outside two numbers will tell us how big the product matrix is going to be. The product matrix is going to be 3 by 2. So I'm going to treat this basically like a fill-in-the-blank problem. I'm going to set up a 3x2 matrix. So there's 6 blanks to fill in. So how do I do this? Now normally what people will do is do this in a really systematic way. Start at the top left, work across the rows, and then work your way down. But to emphasize how this is really done, I'm just going to choose more or less at random. So what about this blank? How do we fill in this blank? The key, and this sounds a little unusual, but it's true, the key is to know how you name this position. This is the 3, 1 position. This is the 3rd row, 1st column. And it's these two numbers that are going to tell you how to fill in this blank. I'm going to go to the 3rd row of the first matrix. That's right here. I'm going to go to the 1st column of the 2nd matrix. So row, column, 3rd row, 1st column. And I'm going to multiply this row by this column. And in the last example, we learned how to multiply a row by a column. So I'm going to show the work on this one, but not on the future elements. So 3rd row, 1st column, -2 times 4 is -8. -4 times -1 is +4. -8 plus 4 is -4. That's how you fill that in. So let's pick another entry and use a different color. So what about filling in this element? Well, this is the 1st row, 2nd column. This is the 1, 2 position. 1st row, 2nd column. So I go to the 1st row and 2nd column. Okay, I lied. I'll show the work one more time. So we start at the beginning. We're working left to right, top to bottom. -1 times -1 is +1. -6 times -1 is +6. 1 plus 6 is 7. So 4 more blanks to fill in, and I'm not going to show the work this time. I will color code a couple more because, like I said, this is an unusual operation if you're not used to it. All right, so let's just start at the beginning. 1, 1. That's the 1, 1 position. So 1st row, 1st column. -1 times 4 is -4. -6 times -1 is +6. So we have -4 plus 6, which is 2. And you do it again. So next, I'll change colors again. Let's do we've already done the 1, 2. So let's do this one. This is the 2, 1 position. 2nd row, 1st column. 2 times 4 is 8. -1 times -1 is 1. 8 plus 1 is 9. So I'm going to speed up just a little bit. I'm not going to draw the arrows, and I'm not going to color code these. So let's do the 2, 2 position. So I will erase my old arrows though. So the 2, 2 position, this is 2nd row, 2nd column. 2 times -1 is -2. -1 times -1 is 1. So we have -2 plus 1 sounds like -1. And then finally we have the 3, 2 position. 3rd row, 2nd column. -2 times -1 is +2. -4 times -1 is +4. So we have 2 plus 4, which is 6. So that's how you multiply matrices. Don't worry, it doesn't take nearly as long as this video might make it seem. Once you get some practice, you can go pretty fast. And like I said, you typically want to go systematically. Start at the top left, work your way across the rows, work your way down, and it's nothing but a bunch of multiplication and addition. Now, what this represents behind the scenes is really intriguing. That's why you're studying this in geometry class. because as strange as it sounds, matrices really are doing a geometric job. But we'll talk about that later. Anyway, hope this video helped.